Hello, students. In previous lecture, you had seen that how Derrida provides an extended commentary on Rousseau's as an origin of language in order to investigate Rousseau's theory that writing is a supplement to speech. He criticizes Rousseau's statement that writing is nothing but a representation of speech. Derrida further explains that the function of writing is not merely to substitute for the presence of speech, and that writing is not merely an effort to recover a missing or lost presence. Writing is not merely a kind of absence that must reappropriate a kind of presence from other forms of language in order to restore presence in itself. According to Rousseau, writing may become a dangerous supplement if it is used as a substitute to speech. Writing may subvert any meaning that may be intended by the speech. So, moving further in today's lecture, we'll see what he talks about the threat of perversion. Perversion means distortion or twisting. So, while the author of nature, according to Derrida, he says, while the author of nature has given children the active principle, he takes care that it shall do little harm by giving them small power to use it. So, we had seen in the previous lecture that how he says that the child is should be led to experience things on his own and to be brought up in his own. So, in contradiction to that, or in contrary to that, Derrida says that obviously, yes, he should know, the small child should know how the power to be is to be used. But as soon as they think of people as tools, they are responsible for activating. They use them to carry out their wishes and to supplement their own weaknesses. So, this is how they become tiresome, masterful, imperious, naughty, and unmanageable. A development which does not spring from natural love of power, but one which gives it to them. For it does not need much experience to realize how pleasant it is to act through the hands of others and to move the world by simply moving the tongue. So, actually, the work, he says that the people who just move the tongue become powerful because they know that they don't have to work on their own. They are just moving their tongue, or they're just using the words and ruling others, and they're using the power through the use of the words. So, further, he says that the supplement will always be the moving of tongue or acting through the hands of others. Because in this case, the one who is carrying forward the power is not using his own physical strength or his physical prowess. He is using only the words to influence the people, and others are working for him or her. So it is that supplement he's talking about, because obviously he says that supplement will always be the moving of the tongue or acting through the hands of others. So in it, everything is brought together, which is progress as the possibility of perversion. Perversion, we know, is distortion or twisting. A regression, which is obviously can be understood as degeneration or deterioration towards an evil that is not natural and that adheres or sticks to the power of substitution that permits us to absent ourselves and act by proxy. So, when we are using the words, so according to Rousseau, it is the supplement which is being used. So, it is not the person who is actually acting, but it is the word which is acting. And it is in that proxy, that word is working. So, being physically absent from there, but the work which is assigned by me or a person is being done by the others. So, that is why he says that the power of substitution that permits us to absent ourselves and act by proxy through representation, because the person who has to work actually is not present there. It is only the word which is working or acting for him through representation through the hands of others. So here he says that through the written, that is par écrit, this substitution always has the form of sign. So the scandal is that the sign, the image, or the representer become forces and make the world move. So here he says actually it is not the person who is moving the world, but the word which is spoken by somebody is moving the world. So according to him, this is scandal is such that its evil effect are sometimes so irreparable. And obviously, there are too many examples present in the history itself where the words have moved the world, and obviously, it has taken a different course entirely. So here that's why he says that evil effects are sometimes irreparable, that the world seems to turn the wrong way, because words can really influence the world, and sometimes it can take a bad turn. People may take a bad turn due to those influence of the word. So here he said that Derrida says that we shall see later what such catastrophe can signify for Rousseau. So according to Rousseau, such catastrophe are result of this words only. So here he says that the nature becomes the supplement of art and society. Here, so nature is becoming the supplement of art and society. It is the moment when evil seems incurable. So when this it's the art and society which is representing, or which starts becoming the supplement of nature, then Rousseau says that it is that time when this becomes the evil of the society, incurable evil of the society. So he further says that as a child does not know how to be cured, let him know how to be ill. The one art takes the place of the supply, the other, and is one often more successful. It is the part of the nature. So this was said by Rousseau. So it is also the moment when maternal nature, ceasing to be loved as she ought to be for herself and in an immediate proximity, becomes the substitute for the another love and for the another attachment. Here Derrida quotes, O nature, O my mother, behold me under thy protection alone. Here there is no cunning or knavish mortal to thrust himself between me and thee. So, further, Derrida moves on. This was the quote which Derrida had done, and further he quotes from dialogue. Derrida quotes from dialogue, and he says that contemplation of nature always had a very great attraction for his heart. He found there is a supplement to the attachment that he needed, but he would have left the supplement for the thing. If he had the choice and he was reduced to converse with the plants only after vain effort to converse with human beings. So the botany becomes the supplement of society, which is more than a catastrophe, or which is more than a misfortune or calamity. So it is the catastrophe of the catastrophe. So obviously here he's saying that obviously moving from society to the nature, so it is more catastrophe of the catastrophe. And he says that for in nature, the plant is the most natural thing. If you go to the nature, then the most natural thing that you'll find in nature is obviously the plants. So there shouldn't be any interference with the growth of the plant. And it is a natural life. If it is in the nature or within the nature, then it is a natural life. So the mineral is distinguished from the vegetable in that it is a dead and useful nature, servile to men's industry. So when man has lost the sense that the taste of true natural riches, plants she rummages or in the entrails of his mother and risk his health. So here again Derrida quotes from Riveris. So he says that the mineral kingdom has nothing in itself either amiable or attractive. Its riches, enclosed in the breast, womb seen, according to him, of the earth, seems to have been removed from the gaze of men in order to tempt his cupidity. They are like they are there like a reserve to serve one day as a supplement to the true wealth which is more within its grasp, and for which he loses taste according to the extent of his corruption. Then he is compelled to call it industry, to struggle, and to labor to alleviate his misery. He searches the entrails of earth, he goes seeking to its center at the risk of his life, at the expense of his health. for imaginary goods in place of the real good which the earth offers of herself if he knew how to enjoy it. He flies from the sun and the day which he is no longer worthy to see. That is, in that pursuit to find the real meaning, a person is moving away from the real beauty of the nature. So instead of enjoying the beauty which is on the surface of it, he is trying to dig deeper into it. So it is obviously that struggle that he is fumbling to find something better. But obviously, by doing that, he is moving away from the real beauty of the nature. The same thing can be applied to writing and speech also, where obviously, in search of or in pursuit of that finding of the true meaning of the writing, we are moving further away from the literary beauty of the words or of the something that is written. So here he says that man has thus put out his eyes, he blinds himself by the desire to rummage, that is to fumble in this entrails. Entrails, something which is inside. So like obviously we can say it's guts or like the intestine, something within the earth obviously, which has got some deeper meaning. In search of that deeper meaning, he's fumbling in search of that deeper meaning. Here is the horrible spectacle of the punishment that follows the crime in a simple institution. And he further quotes from Riveris, where he says, Derrida quotes, he buries himself alive and does well, not being worthy of living in the light of day. Their quarries, pits, forges, furnaces, a battery of anvils, hammers, smoke, and fire succeed to the fair image of his rustic labours. The wan faces of the happy people who languish in the poisonous vapour of mines, a black forgeman, a hideous cyclops, are the spectacle which the working of the mind substitute. In the heart, here obviously he says, womb of the earth, for that of green fields and flowers, the azure sky, amorous shepherds, and robust labours upon its surface. That means leaving behind the real beauty, he is going deeper into the dark to find the meaning, or in search of the meaning. So such is the scandal, such is the catastrophe, and that is why he calls it a catastrophe. The supplement is what neither nature nor reason can tolerate. So this is something, obviously, if we talk about the supplement, that cannot be tolerated by the nature or the reason, because the deeper we go, the darker it becomes. If it is in terms of nature, we will be digging out the earth and will be like taking out more soil, more darkness, and obviously we'll be leaving behind the greenery and the azure sky or the brightness of the world. And in the same way, if we try to reason more with the words, then obviously we'll have to tolerate something which has or which was never meant, or something different from what actually was in the beauty of that language or in the beauty of that writing. So neither nature we can say neither nature, according to Derrida, our common mother, nor the reason which is reasonable, if not reasoning, and that they not done everything to avoid this catastrophe, to protect themselves from this violence, and to guard and keep us from this fatal crime. So that, says the second discourse precisely of the minds, it looks as if nature had taken pains to keep the fatal secret from us. So when you deep digger, you will not find the beauty which is on the surface. You will find something dark within the earth. And that is what he's saying, that obviously why the mother nature has kept it under the soil or under the surface, so that we could see only the beauty. So what he tries to say here, Derrida tries to say here, is that we have to, yes, if somebody is writing something, then obviously it is the beauty or the surface that the poet or the writer wants us to see, not the under or within the surface thing of the literature. So instead of enjoying that surface which is being presented in a beautiful way, we try to dig deeper and find out the secrets. And when we go deeper, obviously we'll find more fatal things or secret things which is hidden from us, which we are not meant to see. And obviously when we start looking deeper into that, then obviously we'll find too many uh, darker story or darker side of it, as we see when we start digging the earth. So it is like, obviously, the just under the grass we will start seeing the humus, and within that surface again there will be like another layer of soil, there will be like another layer of stones, which the earth has hidden, and obviously over that it has grown the vegetation which we see as the beauty of the earth. So basically, Derrida says that let us not forget that the violence that takes us towards the entrails of the earth, the moment of mind blindness, that is of metallurgy, is the origin of society. That means the moment we start digging the earth instead of enjoying the surface, it is the origin of the society. Because obviously, excuse me, otherwise the nature or the the animal kingdom, which is living in compliance or living in harmony with the nature, will never do it. And when we start digging it, that he called the mind blindedness. It is supposed to be the origin of the society, because that way we are moving away from the nature, right? So for according to Rousseau, as we shall often confirm, agriculture, marking the organization of civil society, assumes the beginning of metallurgy. So that means we are moving away from the nature. The moment you start digging the earth to find what is inside, or to do something in contrary to what the nature would have done, that means you are moving away from the society. So blindness thus produces that which is born at the same time as society. The language is the regulated substitution of sign or things, the order of the supplement. So one goes from blindness to the supplement. So obviously from that blindness we are going to supplement. So but the blind person cannot see in its origin the very thing he produces to supplement his sight. Here blindness to the supplement is the law. That means there should be blindness, and blindness to the supplement is the law, and especially blindness to its concept. So moreover, it does not suffice to locate, excuse me, it does not suffice to look at its functioning in order to see its meaning. The supplement has no sense and is given to no intuition. So we do not therefore make it emerge out of the strange penumbra. So penumbra is the partial side or the darker side. If you have witnessed the lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, then you'll be able to understand penumbra, the light or the dark, the surface area which is besides that opaque object. So he says that obviously we do not therefore make it emerge out of this its strange penumbra. We speak its reverse according to Derrida. So he talks about like reason is incapable of thinking this double infringement upon nature, that there is lack in nature, and that because of that very fact something is added to it. Yet one should not say that reason is powerless to think this. It is constituted by that lack of power. It is the principle of identity. So it is the thought of the self identity of the natural being. It cannot even determine the supplement as its other, as the irrational and the non-natural. For the supplement comes naturally to put itself in nature's place. Fine? The nature is not going to it, but supplement is coming to its place. The supplement is the image and the representation of the nature. The image is neither in nor out of the nature. The supplement is therefore equally dangerous for reason, the natural health of reason. So further he says that these are the words that Rousseau uses in Confessions. He uses them in context which is only apparently different, and in order to explain precisely a condition almost unintelligible and inconceivable to reason, obviously. In a word, between myself and the most passionate lover there was only one, but that an essential point of distinction which makes my condition almost unintelligible and inconceivable. So this was said by Rousseau in his Confession. For example, what unites the word supplement to its concept was not invented by Rousseau, and the originality of its functioning is neither fully mastered by Rousseau nor simply imposed by history and the language by the history of the language. To speak of the writing, Rousseau is to try to recognize what escapes this category of passivity and activity, blindness and responsibility. One cannot abstract from the written text to rush to the signified it would mean, since the signified is here the text itself. Fine. So basically, when we talk about the abstract, so there are as we had explained in the class, previous class also, that there are certain things which we can find. I mean, there are, if I say cat, then obviously I can see a cat. If I say cup, I can see a cup. But there are many abstract things which are present, and obviously we don't have any signified for them. So it is an abstract form which we have to understand. And in the same way, this text sometimes is if we understand it in terms of the text, then obviously it is the signified itself. So since the signified is here, the text itself, according to the explanation which is done by Derrida, it is so little a matter of looking for truth signified by these writings, that if the text that interests us means something, it is the engagement and the appurtenance that encompass existence and writing in the same tissue, the same text. The same is here called supplement, another name for difference. So it is obviously that text that he is talking about, that yes, it is there, it is in the form of that supplement present in front of us. So it is the text. It may have that signifier in an abstract form. So he goes further and he says that we read in Emily's book 4, if once he acquires this dangerous habit, which he calls supplement, he is ruined. In the same book, it is also a question of making up by trading up in experiences. Supplementaire and gagnant de vestige. Experience literally supplementing by outdistancing experience, and of the mind which reinforces or supplees the bodily strength. So here the experience of autoeroticism is lived in anguish. He talks about masturbation reassures, soon reassured, only through that culpability traditionally attached to the practice, obliging or producing children to assume the fault, to interiorize the threat of castration that always accompanies it. So pleasure is thus lived as the immediate loss of the vital substance, as exposure to madness and death. It is produced, he quotes, at the expense of their health, strength, and sometimes their life. So this may not happen if we are talking about the cost of life. This may not happen with the human beings, but yes, in animals sometimes reproduction or just moving further or taking forward the nature itself can cost life. So he is talking about that at the expense of their health, strength, and sometimes their life. In the same way, the Riveris will say, the man who searches the entrails of earth goes seeking to its center, at the risk of his life and at the expense of his health, for imaginary goods in place of the real good which the earth offers of herself if he knew how to enjoy it. But yes, he will try to find the meaning or the supplement, and in that search he will be going deeper and deeper. So according to Derrida, it is a question of imaginary. So the supplement that cheats the maternal nature operates as writing, and as writing it is dangerous to life. This danger is that of the image, just as writing opens the crisis of the living speech in terms of its image, its painting or its representation. So onanism announces the ruin of vitality in terms of imagery or seduction. Fine. So you can understand it further with this quote. So, this vice, which shame and timidity find so convenient, possesses, beside a great attraction for lively imaginations, that of being able to dispose of the whole sex as they desire, and to make the beauty which tempts them minister to their pleasure, without being obliged to obtain its consent. So this was from Confession. And the dangerous supplement, which Rousseau also calls a fatal advantage, is properly seductive. It leads desire away from the good path. So basically, when he talks about desire taking away from the good path, he gives examples of masturbation. Fine. So obviously, the good purpose when a person indulges in sex according to nature, the reason is to reproduce. But yes, when it is misleading, people or the man goes on to masturbation. So that is why it is leading away from the good path. And obviously, if it is masturbation, it is leading the person or man away from the nature, because it is sheer pleasure. It is not in symphony or in sync with the nature, in harmony with the nature. It is not for the purpose of reproduction. So it makes, that's why he says that it makes it err far from natural ways, guides it towards its loss or fall, and therefore it is a sort of lapse or scandal, which he calls scandalon. So it thus destroys. So obviously, if we are moving away from nature, so it is that, or it is at that point that it destroys the nature. So the scandal of reason is that nothing seems more natural than this destruction of nature. Fine. So reason is trying to find a logic behind this destruction, but he says that it is nothing more than this destruction of nature. So it is myself. Here he says, Rousseau says that it is myself who exerts myself to separate myself from the force that nature has entrusted to me. And he says that seduced by this fatal advantage, I did my best to destroy the good constitution which nature had restored to me, and to which I had allowed time to strengthen itself. We know that importance Emily gives to time, to the slow maturation of natural process. The entire art of pedagogy is a calculated patience, because nothing should be speeded up, nothing should go beyond the uh, path of the nature. Let everything grow in symphony or in harmony with the nature. So here he says that obviously I did my best to destroy the good constitution which nature had resorted to me, which I had allowed time to strengthen itself. And here Emily says that it is the time which we should give to the nature, and it is the most important factor to slow the maturation of natural forces. The entire art of pedagogy, which is calculated patience, allowing the work of nature time to come to fruition, respecting its rhyme and the order of its stages. Fine. So it is a rhyme, and obviously it has got certain stages which it has to cross. So the dangerous supplement destroys very quickly the force that nature has slowly constituted and accumulated. In out distancing natural experiences, it runs non-stop, burns the halting points, and consumes energy without possibility of recovery. So here he confirms, like the sign, it bypasses the presence of thing and the duration of being. That means, yes, the sign is being overlooked. Fine. And in that way, obviously, there is destruction of the being. The dangerous supplement breaks with nature. The entire description of this moving away from from nature has a scene. So the confession stage the evocation of the danger supplement at the moment when it is a question of making visible a distancing which is neither the same nor another. Nature draws away at the same time as a mother or rather mama, who already signified the disappearance. So these are the explanation which is given by Derrida. Disappearance of the true mother and has substituted herself in the well-known ambiguous manner. It is therefore how a question of distance between mama and the person she called little one emerges. As Emily says that all evil comes from the fact that women who have ceased to be mother, they do not and will not return to their duty. That means the further a mother goes away from her duty, the more destructive or catastrophic is being the nature of bringing up the child. So, in the same way, the more the human being goes away from the nature, the more destructive is being the society to the nature. So, a certain absence then of a certain sort of mother and the experience of which we speak is such as to reduce that absence as much as to maintain it. A furtive experience, that of thief who needs invisibility, and the mother be invisible and not see. And further, these lines are quoted where he says, I should never have done if I were to enter into the details of all the follies which the remembrance of this dear mamma caused me to commit when I was no longer in her presence. How often have I kissed my bed since she had slept in it, my curtains, all the furniture of my room, since they belonged to her, and her beautiful hand had touched them. Even the floor on which I prostrated myself, since she had walked upon it. Sometimes even her presence I was guilty of extravagance, which only the most violent love seemed capable of inspiring. At table one day, just when she had put a piece of food into her mouth, I exclaimed that I saw a hair in it. She put back the morsel on her plate, and I eagerly seized and swallowed it. In a word, between myself and the most passionate lover, there was only one, but that was an essential point of distinction, which makes my condition most unintelligible and inconceivable. Only felt the full strength of my attachment when I no longer saw her. So, this is the love of the child for the mother. And he talks about the difference or about that distinction between the mother and the child. And he says that in a word, between myself and the most passionate lover, there was only one, but that an essential point of distinction, which makes my condition almost unintelligible and inconceivable. Right. So again, they are moving towards that explanation where we find that attraction between the mother and the baby strongest, but that is again supplemented, right? So moving further, we'll talk about the chain of supplement in the next lecture. For today, this is all. Thank you.